You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 17. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I am so happy to be with you again this week. Today, we are going to dive into the feeling of overwhelm and how you can beat it and work hard at avoiding it. I am literally one of the most organized people in the world, unless you look at my closet, but this month I have felt overwhelmed. I took 2 weeks off of work around Christmas, which was amazing, and I was completely caught up on client work. I had batched 3 weeks of podcast episodes and even planned out a month of social media content. The new year came, and suddenly it felt like everything was piling up. My clients batched their podcast episodes, and everyone was sending at least 2 episodes to me. Playdates were back in full swing. I needed to start working on my new content and have some big plans for my business this year. And then there's kindergarten registration. This is a big year for our house. We have 1 graduating high school and 1 starting kindergarten. I started researching our public schools last year, and the ones I contacted said to reach out in January so I could come in for a tour. So I started that process and then started booking them in the calendar. But touring schools is nothing in comparison with everything else that our district has you do. There's paperwork, proof that you live where you say you do, like a minimum of 3 forms of proof, on top of proving that your child is who you say he is. But that's not it. I have to contact his pediatrician about a TB test, and then I need to pick up a form to bring with me. I have to submit this all online, but then I need to bring the same paperwork and copies with me to an appointment that's 20 minutes away. This is a ton of stuff to do, and that doesn't include the essay that I now have to write on why we want our son to attend this public school that's 2 miles away instead of the one that's a mile away. Let's talk about homework. So I sat at my desk wondering how every parent actually accomplishes this when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I like to think I've got things pretty much put together. Do you ever feel this way? Do you see your to-do list pile up right before you? Now, I write out my weekly to-do list on Sundays, but I add to it throughout the week, and it can definitely look ridiculous. I mix in my personal to-do list with my professional ones. So in between producing episodes and pitching clients, you'll see that I have to do laundry or hit the grocery store or call a school to book a tour. My guess is that your list is probably a mixed bag too. What do you do when you get that sense of overwhelm? For some, they simply shut down and nothing gets done. But what does that solve? Obviously nothing. It's the opposite, since now you're getting nothing crossed off your list on top of feeling so stressed out. So I'm going to share with you what I do when that feeling creeps in. Aside from writing down all of my tasks, I prioritize them by due date. This may sound like an obvious solution, but part of me also likes to get things done either as they come in or in a batch. I'll give you an example. I'll get 3 podcast episodes from one client and 2 from another. While I'd love to hammer out the 3 podcasts that came in from that first client, the reality is that each client has 1 podcast due each week. So I actually need to work on the first episode for the first client and then work on the first episode for the second client before I should be working on any of the other episodes. I also have to think about how this mixes into what I need to do for my own business and for my family. The day that I was getting bombarded with all things kindergarten, I sat down and got it organized. I made the registration appointment online and I worked backwards from there. I called the pediatrician and I got the TB test sorted out, and now I know exactly how much time I have to work on my essay of why my son should go to the better public school. In addition to my Sunday weekly to-do list, I look at my list at the end of every day and decide what I'm going to tackle first thing in the morning. For me, writing show notes first thing is what works best. So I decide which podcast episode I'll be working on at 5 a.m., and I know that's how my day will start. But here's the thing. Life doesn't go as planned, like hardly ever, especially when you have a family. So what do you do when you're suddenly inundated with things to do? In addition to prioritizing all of your tasks by due date, ask yourself, what is the one thing that I can do today that will make me feel like I have accomplished something? What is that one thing that when your head hits the pillow tonight, you will go to bed feeling like you did it? You conquered something big. And friends, it doesn't have to be big. It can be that you not only got the laundry done, but you got it folded and put away. It can be that you made the dentist appointment for everyone. You got your dinner menu planned and ordered your groceries online. You sent those follow-up emails out. You replied to the emails in your inbox that you've been putting off. Your job is to do that one thing. Tackle it, slay it, make it yours, and get it crossed off your to-do list. Now, don't go doing it and then add it to your to-do list just so you can cross it off. Sorry, friends, but that does not count. If it wasn't on your to-do list to begin with, then it wasn't that important either. I was listening to the Whiskey and Work podcast the other day, and Kelsey is giving tips on how to create a morning routine. In addition to having this one thing that you need to get done, she tells you that you should start your morning off by writing 5 things that you did the day before that you're proud of. Not things that you're grateful for, but things you got done, things you can celebrate yourself for. I think it's so important to recognize and celebrate what you're doing and all that you're accomplishing in general, but also when you're feeling overwhelmed. Take stock in everything you've got going on. All too often, I forget that my world is crazy, and I'll hear myself saying to myself that I'm just not doing enough or I haven't gotten ahead enough. Lucky for me, I have a husband and friends who remind me. My friend Karen, that's been on the show, and I've talked about her again last week, is the first to send me an email that says, stop. Remember, you're a full-time mom with 2 kids at home, no nanny, and you're not only raising them and feeding them and taking them to play dates, but you're also running a business at the same time. I need to give myself more grace, and so do you. Remember that you're busy trying to do all the things, but we don't need to do all the things. We need to do one thing at a time and celebrate the things we do. We need to slow down and prioritize what we truly need to get done versus what can wait, and we need to remember that tomorrow is another day. Don't overwhelm yourself with feeling the need to get everything done in one day, and if things pop up, prioritize them by their due date and importance. I'm a firm believer in writing everything down in my planner. Maybe use an online planner, whatever it is. Get it down on paper or a computer. There's no doubt in my mind that you will always feel overwhelmed if you aren't laying it out in front of you what needs to get done. You can't plan without knowing the steps that you need to take, so get it written down. One of my downfalls is letting things interrupt my workflow. Whether that's an email that comes in or a phone call, I am that person that will see an email come in and I'll switch gears and tackle the task in the email and respond. I've been operating this way for decades. Literally, I had a boss that thought I just never slept because I always responded as soon as an email came in. One thing that I've recently changed is that I'm no longer looking at emails until I know I can set aside the proper time to reply to them. I've turned off notifications on my phone, and I will not click on an email on my phone unless I know I can properly reply. Having so many forms of communication these days only adds to our task list. And for me, I know my emails can wait. My clients have other ways of contacting me if it's urgent. And since I'm not saving lives, I don't need to be on call, nor do I need to add to my to-do list with interruptions due to answering emails or working on the content that needs to be addressed within the email. Are you checking your emails all the time or only at scheduled times of the day? My goal is to get to a point where I only check my emails at certain times of the day. I know there are some big leaders out there who only check 3 times a day. If people running huge companies can do this, then so can little old me. It's up there with my goal of working 3 days a week and that being enough as well. If you're feeling overwhelmed or feel that stress creeping in, I want you to stop and prioritize and ask yourself, what one thing can you do today to feel accomplished? And then do that one thing. Share with me if that helps you and if you have any other tips on how to be overwhelmed in life. As I say, you define your future, but you also define your to-do list and your priorities, so why not take advantage of that? Until next time, my friends, thanks for joining me, and remember not to let life's to-do list slow you down.